Okay, hi guys. Welcome to Ardelle Holden's book launch for her latest book in her thriller series. This one's called Murder by Bits and Bytes. Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Candiago and I'll be your host today. We are so pleased you could be here to celebrate with us. And not only are we celebrating Ardelle's book launch, but we're also celebrating her birthday. So feel free to put happy birthday in the chat for her. We have lots planned for you today. We have 4 fabulous authors, hopefully 4, one hasn't shown up yet, but we have 3 fabulous authors that will be reading from their work. And of course we have Ardelle reading from her first chapter, and you'll want to pay extra special attention because there will be 6 skill testing questions after her reading. The first person to answer the question correctly and posting it in the chat will get a free signed copy of Murder by Bits and Bytes. And after that, we'll have time for questions. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping details to go over. I'm sure we're all well versed in Zoom etiquette by now, but a reminder to please make sure you're muted so we don't distract the authors or the other members. You can mute yourself by selecting the microphone on the bottom left of your screen. I will also be making sure everybody is muted because I have all the power today. Secondly, please note that we are recording and we will be posting this on social media, so feel free to turn your camera off if you're not comfortable with that. The camera icon is located next to the microphone icon.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, Linda.
We'll have time for questions at the end. If you have questions for Ardelle, please post them in the chat because I'll be moderating for her. If you have any questions for me, you can also post them in the chat. Now, without further ado, let's hear from the woman we're all here for today. Ardelle, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. She's going to keep me on track and rescue me if I get tongue-tied. And she's going to field the questions from the guests in the chat so that we can chit-chat while we're waiting for somebody to come up with the right answer. Now, Stephanie, she's currently working on a memoir about changing family dynamics. Simon Fraser University graduate with degrees in English, literature, and business. She's also a graduate of the Writers Studio at SFU and the Vancouver Manuscript Intensive. She offers support to authors for all the extraneous things like this so that they can focus on their one thing, which is writing. She's also the admin coordinator for the Creative Academy for Writers. That's where we met, and luckily she offered her services to me today. So thank you, Stephanie. And just to remind everybody that if you sign up for my newsletter, Stephanie will have the link in the chat. You qualify for a free digital copy of my first book, which is A Person of Interest. And as I say, Stephanie will have the link to that in the chat. And as she mentioned, if you answer any one of the skill testing questions after I read correctly, if you're the first person to answer it correctly, you receive a signed copy of Murder by Bits and Bytes. So our first guest is going to be AJ. Excuse me. AJ is the Port Moody author of Cobra Clutch, which is this book right here. And the first entry in the Hammerhead Jed ex-pro wrestler turned PI mystery comedy series. It was nominated for the 2019 Lefty Award for Best Debut Mystery and won the 2019 Arthur Ellis Award for Best First Crime Novel. AJ. But AJ is going to be reading from book 2 in the series, Rolling Thunder, which was released May 15th, just last month, by New West. It's over to you, AJ.
Thank you very much, Ardelle, and I think a huge congratulations for your second book.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for having me. This is a real thrill, and thank you to Stephanie for hosting and for everybody tuning in. Yeah, my publisher's name is New West Press. Stephanie is going to be posting some links in the chat while I just talk real quick. And they're a very small publisher, but they're incredibly supportive of the authors. And they just had a book win the Leacock Medal for Humor, and they have 3 authors nominated for the Kobo Emerging Writer Prize. So it's a very exciting time to be working with them. And so I'm honored to be part of that family. Just real quick, because I think during these there's not, it's unique company to be in to launch a book during a pandemic. And so it hasn't been without its adventures, but I try to remain a glasses half full kind of guy. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring attention to local independent bookshops that might, struggle during these times, although I think things are getting, better. And one particular store is Western Sky Books, who I've sort of partnered with. And the kind of cool thing is if you're interested in getting a signed copy, a personalized copy of either of my books, you can go to Western Sky Books, and when placing the order, you can just put the request in. And then the other thing, there's another book, local bookstore, if you're out in the Fraser Valley, The Bookman, which has 2 branches in Abbotsford and Chilliwack. And that I've gotten to know the owner, and she's fantastic. And finally, for ebooks, my publisher and I have been trying to promote fanship.fan for ebooks. It's a new platform, but it really, really supports authors. And so, if that's our preferred place to, if you get an ebook, although the book's available anywhere, Amazon, Indigo, and Kobo and everything. And the last thing I'll say in terms of shameless self-promotion, I apologize, is the Cobra Clutch audiobook. Cobra Clutch was adapted in an audiobook, and it came out at the end of April. And so that's available on audible.com and anywhere audiobooks are available. So I'm going to read from my new book, Rolling Thunder. I'm just going to read a couple pages. Before we start, I just want to say, or let you know, I am indeed AJ Devlin, even though based on my author photo, I do not look like it. Look at that clean-cut guy. Instead, I've grown a Grizzly Adams beard, and my hair is super long and out of control. And I forgot to bring product on this trip, so that's why I'm wearing a backwards hat. And my wife is taken to calling me Jeremiah Johnson, like the old Robert Redford movie. So anyways, strange times. So I'm going to read real quick, just an opening little tidbit from Rolling Thunder. Chapter 1. 2 thoughts popped into my head when the 300-pound woman on roller skates slapped me on the ass. First, that she must have been skating very fast before delivering the spank, as the force with which she pummeled my posterior sent shockwaves throughout my body and caused me to stumble forward. No small feat when you consider that I'm 6'3" and weigh close to 240, give or take a few pounds, depending on whether there's been a spike in my milkshake intake. The second thought was that the sheer size of this heavyset hellion on wheels' hand was astounding, for when she delivered her vigorous blow to my buttocks, her giant meat hook nearly engulfed the entire circumference of my behind. I regained my balance and was rubbing my stinging rump when I realized what had just transpired turned a simple bum assault from a playful incident into a full-blown calamity. Upon impact, the large, delicious Dairy Queen banana milkshake I had been nursing flew out of my hand and splattered onto the concrete floor. I was no longer annoyed. Now I was livid. I heard the rolling fanny whacker cackle riotously, her laughter echoing throughout the arena. I locked eyes with her across the track, and she winked at me and blew me a kiss. I furrowed my brow and opened my mouth to let fly a string of obscenities. Before I had the chance, Stephanie Danielson, aka Stormy Days, ripped into her teammate like a tornado in a trailer park. "Jesus Christ, Jabba," she yelled. "What the hell is the matter with you?" Stormy turned to me and gently rubbed my arm. "Sorry, Jed. I know how much you like your milkshakes." I stared at the banana-flavored ice cream goodness as it continued to spill out of the cup onto the glossy gray concrete like a brother in arms bleeding out on the battlefield. I sighed deeply. At that moment, the booty-smacking milkshake assassin completed another lap on the roller derby track. "You got yourself some nice buns there, Butterfingers," she hollered as she whizzed by and continued around the track for another lap. "That's enough, Jabba," barked Stormy before patting my arm some more. I finally snapped out of my milkshake morning and focused. "Why do you keep calling her Jabba?" I asked. "That's her name," replied Stormy. "Jabba the Slut." "That's not really her name." "Yes, it is. So if I looked at her driver's license, it would say Jabba the Slut?" "It may as well. This is roller derby, Jet. Our names are what empower us as warrior women and make us who we are. It's why back when I used to wrestle, I was Stormy Days, but now when I hit the track, I become the Amazombie." Stormy put her hands in her hips and puffed out her chest proudly. I'd met her 8 months ago while unofficially working my first case. Her ex-boyfriend and my former friend and pro wrestling tag team partner, Johnny Mamba, had been murdered, and my investigation led me to her. Although I briefly considered a suspect in Johnny's death, it quickly became clear she was a good woman who had loved him dearly. I had not seen Stormy since Johnny's funeral. She left professional wrestling after Johnny died, and I hadn't heard anything about her until she called the office that morning and asked to meet as soon as possible. Jabba the Slut and Emma Zombie, I said, shaking my head, and I thought professional wrestling names were overly theatrical. Never mind, Jabba, Stormy said. The one you need to watch out for is Barra Cougar. If she gets her paws on you, she'll make Jabba's spank feel like a love tap. So I'm going to end it there. That's a portion of chapter 1. And essentially, my ex-wrestler turned detective, by the end of the chapter, he agrees to take a case and try and locate the roller derby team's missing roller derby coach. And he sort of disappeared under mysterious circumstances. And then the last thing I'll say before I hand it back is I did not make up a single roller derby name. I'm just really good at Google searches, and every single one of those wild names are real. But that's a lot of the fun of women's roller derby. And I was incredibly fortunate that a high school classmate of mine, who's now a journalist with the Chilliwack Progress, she's also a retired roller derby star. And we reconnected after 20 years. And not only did she advise on the roller derby content, she also essentially edited the book. And so the roller derby stuff in the book is accurate. So that made me very happy, and I really hit the jackpot there. Anyways, thank you so much for letting me read, and I'm going to toss it back to Stephanie.
Ardelle, over to you.
Great, thanks, AJ. I've downloaded Rolling Thunder, but I haven't gotten to it yet. But.
Yeah, and if it wasn't clear, they're comedic mysteries. This is not Hemingway. This is about a wrestler detective getting pulled into weird, unique fringe sports and unique subcultures. So, right. But it's a lot of fun to write. But yeah. Thank you again for having me on. Congratulations on your amazing accomplishment, and it's an honor to be here.
Thanks, AJ. Our next reader is Jacqueline Carmichael. Hi, Jackie. She'll be reading from her book, Heard Amid the Guns, True Stories from the Western Front, to be published in October of this year, 2020, by Heritage House. And Stephanie's going to put the link in the chat. She's also the author of My Read Aloud Tales About Social Distancing. That's a children's book, isn't it, Jackie? Yes. Okay. Unmute yourself. This longtime journalist, the Port Alberni resident, is on the board of the Federation of BC Writers. So over to you, Jackie.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much, Ardelle, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'd sing it, but it'll take up some of my minutes. So, but yeah, totally happy birthday. And for your lovely new book, I cannot wait to read it. And many thanks to Stephanie for this super event. Loved your work there, AJ, so thanks for that. This is an excerpt from Heard Amid the Guns, True Stories from the Western Front. Throughout much of the war, my paternal grandfather, George Blackjack Vowell, kept up a correspondence with an Irish woman who was destined to become Canada's most high-profile war bride of the Great War. He wasn't alone in his bid to keep the letters coming in. According to the United Kingdom's Royal Mail, an average of 19,000 mail bags crossed the English Channel every day in 1917. The Royal Mail's home depot was handling 12 million letters and 1 million parcels at its wartime peak, and an estimated 2 billion letters were addressed to or from servicemen during the war. And even after armistice, a November 16th, 1918 postmark on a postcard from France was still calibrated to urge the public to feed the guns with war bonds. George's early letters to Miss Beebe, as he called her, showed a sort of rough-hewn charm, some magnetism under the displaced rancher exterior. His language was direct, with a homespun charm. As we are getting used to the mud, we are feeling better. We are all as happy as a pig fed on tater peelings, he wrote. On a stubborn soldier, he's just like Patty's pig. You can coax, but he doesn't drive worth a darn. And on veering off topic, if I don't quit drifting, I'll get clear off my range. Beebe asked George to describe himself. His response was self-deprecating. I look like a loose button on an overcoat, he said. On the other hand, George wasn't beyond stretching the facts to impress a girl. Embellishments in the letters he wrote to Beebe, according to family records, including the romanticized claims to be a Texas native, he was born in Kansas, Fully Irish, his mother's name was French, and an accomplished horsebreaker. Family members agreed that he had little patience with horses compared to his brother Fred. It was the opposite of a bucket list, the list of things that happened to those at the front. The things George Vowell described were most unbelievable in their sum total, but they were borne repeatedly out in memoirs of other soldiers. On one particularly fraught day in 1915, he noted, "Germans sent over 10,000 shells in an hour and a half. So damn homesick, I can hardly do any work." When he wasn't delivering rations to the front or dodging bullets and mortar fire, he wrote, "Bullets ripped up the dirt all around me, but none of them were marked Blackjack. Buried by a shell explosion, he clawed his way out of a collapsed dugout, only to fall into a rain-filled shell hole and almost drown, panicking after bumping up against the rubbery flesh of dead soldiers." He was gassed when Germans weaponized chlorine. He came down with the mumps and Spanish influenza and German measles and trench foot. He wrote about our trench companions. "The dope they gave us for the lice took the skin off. Sure, it drove the lice off all right, but the cure is worse than the reason for it." He walked 4 miles for a bath, and he carried a wounded buddy 1.5 miles to medical help. After a brief leave from the front to go to Britain, George penned a note on December 4th, 1915 on YMCA rest camp letterhead with words that modern psychologists might call a cry for help. "Coming over on the boat, I just got so darned homesick that I had a notion to jump overboard, but I'm all right now. I guess we'll be in the ditches on Christmas Day, some prospect to look forward to, eh?" He earned the British military medal for bravery, by one report for single-handedly taking out a bunch of Germans at the Somme, and by another for being handy with the Lewis gun and holding his post at the obliterated Mouquet farm, which would be rebuilt on the other side of the road after the war. Before and after British government aerials photos show devastation on the land at Pozières, where the Allies fought to break the Germans' Thiepval line mid-1916. The original farm was demolished, pulverized beyond recognition. Roads gone, trenches gone, farm gone, soldiers gone. And I'll stop right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie. Listen, were those letters redacted at all?
No. No, apparently there wasn't enough military detail. I didn't see any places where they'd been redacted.
That's very interesting. I was in a genealogical meeting not that long ago where a woman was reading a lot, or she had published a lot of letters from one of her ancestors to another back home. And it gave troop movements and how many casualties, all sorts of things. It was absolutely amazing. But then this was the American Civil War. So I think by the First World War, they didn't let that sort of thing go through the post.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Donna Barker. And Donna is one of the founders of the Creative Academy for Writers, where we met and where I get all my courage. Donna is an award-winning career ghostwriter who indie publishes quirky, dark humor and romance novels under her pen name Danica Bloom. As Donna, her creative nonfiction has been published in print magazines, and as Danica, she overshares, I love that word, overshares personal stories on her online magazine called Love and Stuff on medium.com. Donna is going to be reading from Mother Teresa's Advice for Jilted Lovers. And Stephanie will have Donna's links in the chat. Donna.
Thank you, Ardelle. Yeah, what a treat to be part of this celebration. This is the book, Mother Teresa's Advice for Jilted Lovers, and because I'm just reading the first chapter, I'll read the description of it to give you some context for what's going on. And it's a paranormal, dark humor, women's fiction novel. It's a very mixed genre. So every time Tara Holland thinks she's getting close to finally having her white wedding, the man who should be on his knee giving her roses winds up on his back pushing up daisies. Needless to say, Tara's beginning to think she's cursed when it comes to men. Her best friend, Betsy, who's always there to put the pieces back together, convinces Tara
that she's the cause of each of her boyfriend's untimely exits to the other side. Could it be that Tara has that kind of psychic power? And is Betsy right that women all over the world would pay a pretty penny for it? What follows is a wild and humorous trek down the path of Tara's spiritual growth and ultimate awakening, but the road to enlightenment is no cakewalk. It's fraught with stacks of ill-gotten cash, death threats, and orange jumpsuits. So this is the first chapter from Mother Teresa's Advice for Jilted Lovers. See if I can do this and actually look at you a little bit. Okay. Killing James wasn't my top of mind thought after we made love that morning. In fact, after 4 months of sharing sheets, I was feeling good about my relationship with James. Relationship. Okay, so we hadn't actually said that we were a couple, but I knew it was coming. James got out of bed to make coffee and connect with his head office. I stayed put to hold on to my post-sex buzz just a little longer. I imagined the conversation I'd have later that day with Betsy. I think we're getting serious, I'd tell her. She'd be skeptical and snarky. Better you than me, she'd say. He bought me a toothbrush when he replaced his own. It feels like a sign. Yeah, a big orange caution flag. I heard the coffee maker sputter and James clinking mugs. I got up. His laptop sat on the table, open to an exchange with his boss, Sandra. As I dropped to the couch, 2 words jumped out at me as though they'd been typed in large, bold red letters. Blowjob. Oh, he must mean something about not blowing a job he has to do for Sandra. I picked up the laptop and started to read. Nope. The only job that Sandra was worried about blowing was his, and from only 6 one-liners back and forth between them, it was obvious that James and Sandra were lovers. And by lovers, I mean it was obvious that James's penis played an integral role in his weekly job duties. James called from the kitchen as I put the laptop down. Hey, Tara, you want your coffee in bed or are you getting up? I couldn't speak through the bile in my throat. James walked around the corner and saw me sitting on the couch. He smiled. He bloody smiled at me and put 1 cup of coffee down on each side of his laptop. Hey, what's wrong? You look pale. Are you feeling sick? He asked, touching my forehead like a concerned dad. I pointed at his laptop, stood, walked to his bedroom and closed the door. Hard. I wanted to leave, but didn't have the energy to get dressed. I sat on the edge of his bed. I didn't scream. I couldn't cry. My only thought was whether I should puke in the toilet or on his bedroom floor. I decided to stay where I was. Unfortunately, all I did was dry heave. If only I'd had the coffee first, then I'd have something to bring up. James sat down beside me and put his hand on my back. I jerked away. I get that you're upset and I'm sorry you saw the emails, but let's not make this into something that it's not, he said. I glared at him and saw something in his eyes that made me want to believe him. I started to soften and then thought, no, you've been cheating on me. That's not okay. I turned away from him. Tara, look at me. Let me try to explain. He crouched on the floor directly in my sight line. I looked in the other direction. Fine. Do you want to be juvenile about this or do you want to talk about it? Apparently that was the right question to break through my stunned speechlessness. Oh, I gave it to him. I don't even remember what I said, but I had a sore throat and ringing ears at the end of my tirade. And the whole time he stood there with a stupid little smile on his stupid little face. Are you done? Do you feel better? He asked when it was clear that I was done and that I didn't feel better. I really like you. I do. I've been thinking that we have something special. Ha, see, Betsy, I was right. He was ready to go to the next level. But this job, well, it's my life, Tara. You and I, we've only been together, what, a few months? This thing with Sandra, it's just a thing. It's not love, but it's been 3 years. I can't just simply stop. It's complicated. I want to be with this company for the rest of my career, and she kind of has me over a barrel, if you know what I mean. He stopped talking, and I wished my eyes could do to him what my heart was feeling. He seemed to understand that this approach was not doing the trick. Tara, it's not like you and I ever said we were exclusive, right? I mean, I really love the time we spend together. I do, and I'm happy it looks like we might be moving into a more, serious kind of relationship, but that's not where we are now. If anyone should be mad, it's Sandra, he said with a friggin' smile. Since I've kind of been cheating on her with you. Look, I'm sorry. Aren't you going to say anything? He asked. I looked around his bedroom. I'm going to miss waking up to your view of Kitts Beach, I thought. I love the color of your walls. I wish I'd asked what it was. Too bad you're an asshole, because I was getting comfortable here. I'm taking my new toothbrush, I said. I packed up my things, dressed in silence, and left without saying goodbye. Very shortly, we find out that he dies. He falls off of a ladder. Anyway, that is the first chapter of Mother Teresa's Advice for Jilted
He
Lovers.
has it coming to him.
Does it come? Thank you, Ardelle.
Thanks, Donna. I love it. I've downloaded that one too.
Thank you. And yeah, and it's available for free on my website. Stephanie shared a link there.
Oh, fantastic.
You can either buy it on Amazon or you can get it for free from my website.
Thanks, Donna. That was excellent. Now, Mel didn't make it, and I was just going to, I said I don't see him here. I was just going to tell you a little bit about Mel. He lives in Mexico, where we live in the wintertime, and we met in the writers group down there. He was going to read from his latest novel, but Stephanie, I think we can put his Amazon link up.
Sure.
Anyway, even though he has his detective stories are quite good. These are two of them. Yeah, and they're all on Amazon. And his book of haiku poetry, this is a Japanese art form, and he won a prestigious national award in Japan for it. Written in Spanish, translated into English, and then into Japanese, and he won an award for it. So kudos to Mel. It's really too bad that he couldn't make it. And our other reader, Kelly Hayes-Raitt, she's the house-sitting diva. She's presently in Scotland, and we had a time zone misunderstanding. So she's sleeping right now, and so she's not going to be reading for us today. Stephanie, so it's back to you.
Yes, so now it's time for Ardelle's reading. So a little bit about Ardelle. She is an award-winning writer, artist, and photographer. Ardelle lives on Vancouver Island and winters in Ajijic, Mexico. Did I get it right, Ardelle?
Ajijic, that's right.
She and her husband, Patrick, raised their 2 children working together in aviation, mining exploration, and in the wild rice lakes of northern Manitoba. Later, she worked as a medical office assistant in Victoria and formed 3 companies to satisfy her creative enthusiasm. Listen to this one. In retirement now, she keeps busy with genealogy, photography, digital scrapbooking, painting, drawing, or quilting whenever she isn't writing or blogging about her diverse interests. It's very fascinating. So after Ardelle...
Well, I'm never going to die. I have 24 shoe boxes of photographs, and I have a cedar chest of negatives. A cedar chest, cedar chest, big thing, full of negatives that I haven't scrapbooked yet or done digitally. So I'm never going to die.
No, what was it? 75,000 photos you told me you have?
Yeah, that's just the digital ones. Those 24 boxes are the real thing, the real photographs.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So after Ardelle reads from her first chapter, she's going to ask 6 skill testing questions. The first person to post the correct answer in the chat will receive a free signed copy of Murder by Bits and Bytes. I will post the lucky winner in the chat. I'll announce it. We will have 6 different winners for the question, so no winning twice, even though you can play 6 times. I will post the winner after each question. I'll then send you a private message asking for your email, and then we will email you after the event asking for your mailing address so we can ship you the free signed copy. So without further ado, let's all listen to the first chapter of Ardelle's fabulous new book, Murder by Bits and Bytes.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, the first chapter is Anticipation. It's Friday, November the 27th. Samantha slipped out of her scrubs and tossed them into the laundry basket with her toe. Stepping into the shower, she turned her face up to the gentle stream. Her long fair hair swept across her breasts and settled in the hollow of her back. Like a receding tide, the tension in her slender body slid away. She smiled to herself. When she'd left the clinic earlier that day, Sam's colleagues had ribbed her about the trip she had planned for herself and Ben, unplugged. They would celebrate their 2nd anniversary and bury some terrifying memories. 2 years before, Samantha had been framed for the murder of a prominent Vancouver lawyer. Both the police and the killers hunted her, one to arrest her, the other to kill her. She and Ben had escaped to his cottage, where they stayed in hiding until the actual murderers were brought to justice. But that didn't banish the nightmares. When they had arrived that first time, even under those frightening circumstances, she had felt safe. He had carried her over the threshold that day, and when spring came, they had spent their honeymoon there. It was home. Samantha dried herself and padded into the bedroom naked, the plush carpet massaging the soles of her feet. Her lingerie drawer offered many moods, but she knew the ones Ben loved best. She pulled on a pair of extreme jeans and a cozy sweater. Unswaddling her hair, she stood in front of the mirror and blew it dry. Her husband loved that soft, sensual look. On weekdays, they would leave the apartment together and linger over one last kiss in the lobby before Samantha headed for the clinic and Ben uptown. As the IT manager at Cumberland Business Associates, he didn't work from home as much anymore, but often screened calls over the weekend. However, this time he promised to unplug and decompress. He texted her just as she was entering the elevator. "On your way, Sam? Just leaving. Where are you?" "Past Abbotsford, stopped at Tim's." "Turn on," in quotes, "the fireplace as soon as you get there, ha ha." This was their private joke. The apartment fireplace was gas, but at the cottage you actually had to haul wood. "I'll turn on more than that. You can light my fire. I love you. See you soon. I love you too." The elevator doors opened and Samantha smiled at Howard, the doorman, as she slipped her phone into her pocket. "We'll be back Sunday night as usual, Howard." "Have fun," he said with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "By the way, Ben had his laptop with him when he left. Does that guy ever take a time out?" Samantha groaned. "He was supposed to. This time." She rolled her eyes as she let the doors close. The traffic heading out of Vancouver was typical for a Friday, but she had driven this route many times and, as usual, stopped for fresh groceries at her favorite market along the way. Before she got back on the highway, she texted Ben. "Just at the market. I know you have your computer. I might have to sit on it naked." A little winky face. Kiss, hug, kiss. She grinned to herself, knowing he would call her bluff. Half an hour later, as she slowed for the off-ramp, the thought occurred to her that Jerry might drop off some drawings he'd been working on for her children's stories. He worked in the graphic design department at Cumberland and was Ben's best friend. They were so much alike, you'd think they were brothers. Although she loved the guy, she hoped he would have come and gone by the time she got there. She wanted Ben all to herself this weekend. Today, as the city receded and the woods enveloped her, the pavement gave way to dirt, and the dirt surrendered to grass. The lane became a golden carpet of autumn leaves inviting her to the door, while fir trees towered over the cottage like staid sentries in emerald capes. Across the river, which ran and sometimes roared at the foot of the property, a deep green draped the mountainside. On the westward reach, one could, on certain days, see the sunset. Despite the chill in the air, Samantha rolled the windows down to inhale the petrichor of the damp earth, the fir trees, the fallen leaves along the last stretch of Chambers Lane. The forest folded around her like a lover's arms. This drive always put her in that mellow mood she sought whenever she drove out from Vancouver. She pulled up alongside Ben's car, parked askew. It blocked the path with his door hanging open. This wasn't like him. She lifted the 2 bags of groceries out of the back seat and shut the door with her elbow. Frowning at his park job, she teetered on one foot, hooked her heel around the door and shoved. Jiggling the groceries, she elbowed the screen door open. "Hon, can you help me with these?" She set her bags on the counter and pulled back the curtain over the sink. "I just about dumped the eggs in the rhododendron trying to shut your car door with my foot. What was the big hurry?" Her brow wrinkled. "Ben?" If he was in his office with his headset on, this was not her definition of being unplugged. She hung her coat on the back of the door and walked into the octagonal living room, rubbing her arms. The fireplace gaped empty and dead. She shivered. Stone fireplaces backed onto the bedrooms on either side of the great room, as they called it. Why hasn't he set the one on our bedroom wall at least? French doors on the 3 walls facing the river opened out into the sunroom. She could see 4 beer bottles sitting on the coffee table there and frowned, hoping this didn't mean they had uninvited guests as well. She looked out at the cold gray river as it crept past. "Ben, who's all here?" With her hands on her hips, she approached the bedroom off the sunroom to the right. She froze in the doorway, his name a fishhook in her throat. Ben! Cables dangled from an empty desk. File drawers hung open. The contents scattered and trampled. Samantha's shock turned to heart-thumping fear when she spotted blood on the rumpled quilt. She knew this was no nosebleed. This amount of blood had to be from serious trauma. Panic overtook her clinical reaction. Now she saw them, blood drops. She tore around to the other end of the sunroom towards their bedroom, but the trail led her out the front door. There was blood pressed into the steps and a congealing pool a few feet away. Ben! She scanned the dense undergrowth at the edge of the woods and down to the river to the west. Nothing, no one. She bolted to the riverbank to look upstream past the rocky outcrop, willing her eyes to see someone, anyone. There was no one. Wheeling around to stare back at the cottage, her thoughts stumbled over images. 4 beer bottles, blood on the bed, Ben's car door. Her chest tightened, making it difficult to breathe. Her fingers flew as she texted him, no response. She called his phone. The person you are calling is unavailable. The terror she had known 2 years ago returned. She fumbled with her phone as she texted Jerry, "Where are you? Is Ben with you?" She held her breath, her heart pounding out the seconds like a grandfather clock on steroids. Her world spun in a blur. As she swiveled on her heels, her eyes locked onto something white near the shore. She blinked to clear her tears and jammed the defiant phone into her pocket. A sneaker bobbed against a rock a few feet from shore. Ignoring the bone-chilling water, she rushed in to grab it before the river swept it away. It was Ben's. Blood stained the laces and clogged an eyelet. Samantha's throat constricted. The steel gray river, barren as far as she could see, silent as a ghost. There was no one to hear her calling. Not another living soul. The privacy she'd always cherished here mocked her with indifference now. She squinted into the depths of the overhanging vegetation on the opposite bank, a mere 100 meters away. Pitching over slippery rocks and sand, she spotted 2 drag marks that scored the embankment, and there, snagged between the boulders, was a bloody shirt, Ben's shirt. Just as she reached it, her fingers retracted like claws. She looked at the shoe, gripped in her fist, and she knew. She knew she mustn't touch anything else. Almost blinded by tears, her eyes darted across the surface, upstream and down. Again and again, she staggered past the fire pit, following the drag marks to where they grew faint in the hard ground at the foot of the front steps. There they ended. Soaked to her thighs and trembling, Samantha stumbled up the steps, calling 911. It was 20 after 2. That's it.
You can't stop there.
Awesome.
Unmute yourself, authors.
Oh,
Amazing. Suspenseful.
seriously.
That was great.
Excellent.
Fabulous imagery too. Like, that's wonderful.
The blood in the eyelet. I just what attention to detail. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Well, my husband said that the water would have washed it away, so I had to have it clogged somewhere.
Right. Right.
Anyway, so Stephanie, I guess we're ready
Fantastic.
for the skill testing questions to see if you guys were listening.
Yes, absolutely.
Marky, Joanne, Tracy, Lily, Wendy, Shar, and Linda. You were paying attention.
I can't play. I already have the answers, but I do take bribes.
Okay. Who was Samantha accused of murdering 2 years ago? Now, authors, you can't say the answer unless none of these other guys know who it was.
Oh. Ah, there we go. Wendy got it.
Great, Wendy. Good, very good. Okay, number 2. Where did they hide out while she was being hunted?
Oh. Wendy got it again. Oh. Okay, Wendy got the first one, so then we moved to Mark. Marky got it.
Okay, very good. Good for you, Marky. He's my computer tech. He's the one that helps me out of every disaster I get into. Okay, number 3. What is Ben's job title?
Oh, looks like we stumped them. Oh, no, Wendy. Yeah, Wendy got it again. But you stopped there. So it's Linda.
Hey, Linda, great. Okay, number 4. What is Jerry dropping off for Samantha at the cottage?
Linda and Wendy both got it.
Nobody else?
Nobody else.
No new person?
Oh, Tracy, there we go.
Oh, Tracy got it too?
Yeah, hold on here. Looks like, yes, because Wendy and Linda already got it. So yes, we'll go with Tracy. Yeah.
Okay, now number 5. What shape is the great room out at Chambers Lane Cottage?
Linda says rectangular. What do
I
you
know
think?
this one. I know this one. It's the first one.
No, it's not rectangular.
Wendy, are you just holding back now?
Marky, if you didn't win a book already, you can answer.
He did win one.
Okay. All right, authors, you get a chance to go ahead. Nobody got it.
Oh, what do we got? Donna got, oh, Jackie got it first.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. What 3 clues did Samantha find down by the river? Oh,
That's bang on, Linda. Now the answer's out there.
yeah, the answer's out there. Vicky, Lily, put those same answers in again so you'll get a book. So Wendy's got one, Linda's got one, Marky's got one.
Yep.
Tracy's got one too, didn't she? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only ones that don't have it is Char, Lily, and Vicky. Can you put those 3 things in there?
Oh, Vicky's got it.
Okay. You know what this means? This means that my book will get to be in the Lactabani library. She's the librarian.
Oh, fantastic.
Hey, Vicky.
So Ardelle, do you have everybody's email that were the winners?
No, I don't. So
okay,
you have to get.
Perfect. So guys, I sent you a private message if you want to send me your email privately. That way we can get you your signed copy. Okay. That'd be fantastic. And now we have time for questions. So Ardelle, should we open it up and unmute everybody?
May as well. There aren't very many of us. We may as well have everybody unmute.
Okay, everybody unmute.
And just go like this and Stephanie will say, it's your turn to talk.
Okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so what is it that you love about mysteries that you wanted to be sure was in this book?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, the one thing that I wanted to make sure, well, this is just one of my pet peeves actually, is that when anybody walks into a dark room where they think there might be somebody there, turn the bloody light on. I mean, when I see that in a movie, I just go, oh, for heaven's sake, turn the light on. But actually, I don't have a dark room in this particular book, but that's one of my pet peeves about murder mysteries, that if I ever have anybody walking into a dark room, they're going to turn the light on. I mean, it's right there.
So stupidity as a plot device doesn't work for you.
No. That's exactly it. And I did want to have details of, I did talk to an RCMP public relations officer. And my question to her was, what's the structure of a detachment? You know, how many people are they? What rank are they? That sort of thing. And so, although I didn't use that number of people in my detachment because I didn't want that many characters, I did have certain types of like there was a dog handler, and there was a, mind you, the forensic analyst person is actually not a member of the RCMP. She's a civilian. And there are other civilian positions in a detachment that I wasn't aware of. So I did a lot of research into the RCMP and the structure of a detachment, that sort of thing, and jurisdiction and that sort of thing. In the first book, A Person of Interest, it was strictly the Vancouver Police Department, and there are several branches of that. But when it went international, then it involved the RCMP's Interpol division and also various other, the RCMP were involved as well in that book. So this one being the Fraser Valley, and in the Okanagan, it's all RCMP. So that was interesting research to be doing, and interesting to research about vineyards and how they're run, and what their season is like, and that sort of thing. And I also wanted to get the weather right. When they were traveling through the mountains, I wanted to know if there was black ice on the highway that day. So I did research into the weather and that sort of thing. So when they encountered black ice, that day there was black ice. Anybody else?
I think Wendy has a question.
Oh yeah, I put it in chat. I don't have very strong signal, so my voice might drop off. So I'm just curious, you have so much detail in the opening chapter. Why did you decide not to name the river, or perhaps name the community the cabin's in?
Well, because there isn't such a place. Almost all of the Fraser Valley is either farming or built up, and I couldn't find a piece of property like that on the Fraser River. So I made it kind of an anonymous river, so that it could be one of the tributaries that would have a wooded area. That's the main reason, because I didn't want readers to say, there isn't any place like that. I wanted it to be believable as a made up location.
Thanks.
Are your two mysteries entirely separate from each other, or do you have any character overlap between them?
Oh, Samantha and Ben are the main characters in A Person of Interest. And the backstory about her being accused, that's the whole story in A Person of Interest.
So would you recommend then buying and reading A Person of Interest first? Like, will it make this one a little richer?
The reason I put the backstory in was so that you didn't have to read the first book.
But will we feel like well, obviously we'll be much more worried about Ben if we read the first book, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Right.
But the spoiler alert is that if you've read the second book, you now know that he wasn't a bad guy from the very beginning. And in the beginning of A Person of Interest, you actually aren't quite sure about him, and neither is Sam. She
Well, now I have to read it.
She doesn't know whether he's a person of interest or not. If you're not a subscriber, Donna, subscribe, you get a free copy.
I just saw that. That's brilliant.
Yes. Anybody that signs up today, I think what did we put it at, Stephanie?
Till midnight Friday.
Midnight Friday.
Yep.
Anybody that signs up to my subscriber list, just subscribes to my newsletter, gets a free copy of A Person of Interest. A digital copy, that is.
Excellent.
And easy as that, I just downloaded it. Thank you.
Did you? Oh,
I
very
did.
good.
Yay, there we go.
There was something I was going to look at here. Where is it?
I have a question.
Yes, AJ.
So it's with regards to your writing process. And in the words of the great Kathy Ace, are you a pantser or a plotter? And that means, for those that don't know, pantser is right by the seat of your pants. You sit down and you just start writing and you see where your story goes. Or like myself, I'm an extreme plotter, where until I have a 80 to 100 page outline, chapter by chapter, I don't put I don't write a word of the actual story. So I'm curious about your process, or are you a hybrid, a little bit of both?
I would call myself a pantser for this reason. When I wrote and published A Person of Interest, I put it out there, and one of the first comments that was on my author page was, this person said that she loved the book and she could hardly wait for the sequel. And I went, sequel? What do you mean? I don't know about a sequel. So I thought about it for a few minutes and I thought, there's a body in the river and Ben's missing. And that's all I had. So I sat down and I wrote that in the reply to her comment. And then I sat down and started thinking about what that meant. And I never actually suffer from writer's block, because I sit down and I say, what are they doing today? And are they just knitting, or are they doing something exciting? And I just follow the lives of the various characters, whether it's the police or the bad guys or my heroines or their friends. And I just follow their lives and wherever it happens to take me. And I did the first draft of Murder by Bits and Bytes in 2018 in NaNoWriMo 2018. NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month. And it's a challenge to write 50,000 words in 30 days. And so, the laundry and the dishes and things like that kind of pile up in November each year. So that's what, so it was 2018 November that I wrote Murder by Bits and Bytes, the first draft. And then since then I've been, doing the rewrites and the editing and all of that, and then sending copies to my beta readers and, and incorporating their ideas. And then in 2000, I sent it to the editor for the last time last October. And of course, that's right before November. And I said to my editor, that's Warren Layberry of Darkwater Editing, who I'm grateful to. Anyway, I said to him, don't send this back to me in November because I'm busy. And so that's last November, I wrote the first draft for Murder by Needles and Pins. And that is going to come out next year.
Nice.
Because it's still sitting on the shelf in first draft until after today.
Right.
So anyway, that's how I write. I sit down and I just ask my characters, what are you doing? I have a chart on the wall here with all their pictures and their relationships. And even the police dog is there, Cooper. And pictures of the vineyard and pictures of the Mounties on horseback riding through the mountains in snow, things like that to inspire me.
That's really interesting. I find that technique very curious, because it terrifies me to think about not having an outline and knowing where I'm going. It's not to say that when writing I'm inflexible or I don't come up with things, in the draft, but I think that's awesome. I think that takes tremendous skill.
Well, if I try and make an outline, the trouble is my characters say, no, that's not what I did. And that's not what I said. And that's not where I went. So, okay, fine. Where did you go? What did you do? What did you say? And I just change it. And it all comes out in the end. They figure out the mystery and solve the mystery. And that's the whole point of the book.
I recently heard an alternative way to call a pantser, which is a discovery writer, which I think I resonate with a lot nicer. And I think, Ardelle, what you're describing, it just sounds more legit than pantser, right? So a discovery writer.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I can't imagine. I'm a discovery writer, but I couldn't imagine writing a mystery like that, because they're hard. Like, that is a special skill to be able to write mystery.
I don't know. I just see a problem and think, okay, how are these people? What are they going to see? And is what they see going to lead them down the wrong way? And are they going to hit a dead end there? And then, okay, well, then maybe this thing will lead them to this thing, and one thing leads to another. But in any case, it all works out in the end.
It's always interesting to hear about authors' writing process, I think.
Yeah. Well, I see Linda had to go. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. But anyway, I think that's...
We have one more. We have one more question from Wendy. Yeah.
Hey.
Wendy, do you want to ask, or you want me to ask her?
I'll try. I keep getting a signal that I've got low bandwidth, but the question I have is, do you use a multi-voice third person, or is it always in this novel from Samantha's point of view?
Each scene is from a different person's point of view. Because if I'm in the bedroom and there's only one person in the bedroom, that it has to be in that person's voice. And then when they come out, I have to change the scene, because now they're in the kitchen. It's the same character in the kitchen, but I want it seen from the person who is in the kitchen waiting for her. So I don't keep it in first person throughout the novel, because for one thing, I have chapters that Samantha's not even in. It's just the bad guys. And then there's chapters where it's just police, and Samantha's not in those. So it can't be from her point of view, because otherwise I'd miss all of that stuff. So from scene to scene, I might have 4 scenes in a chapter, and each scene will go to a different person.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Excellent. So, Ardelle, should we show the trailer?
Yes. I just want to thank everybody for coming, and Vicki, Marky, Tracy, Shar, and Wendy, and all my authors, Donna,
Thank you
Jay,
so much.
Jackie, and thank you so much for coming. Hi, Vicki. Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for coming and reading for me. This is
It was
a
an honor.
real joy. So much fun.
Participate.
So much fun. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank my editor, Warren Layberry of Dark Water Editing, and Michelle Fairbanks of Fresh Design for all my covers and banners and business cards and all that sort of thing. And Barb Drozdowicz, who looks after my website and with Stephanie as my alternate techie through the Academy and the Academy, the Creative Academy for Writers. I'm sometimes in their Zoom room 5 times a day. I just absolutely love it. Wonderful resource. I support you wholeheartedly. So with that, Stephanie, thank you for helping me today. And you can show the trailer now.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me, Ardelle. And I just want to say, when you were saying about your process and how you ask yourself the question, what are they doing today? You made it seem low stress. What are they doing today? I have Cooper up here, the police dog. And so that is fantastic and very inspiring. So good for you. Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we will roll a trailer here for you guys. If you bear with me for 1 minute while I share my screen.
Again.
Okay. You got it.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Go.
Definitely worth listening for the music, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
The first, I had to go 2 rounds with Ravinder to get it just right because he saw the snow on the cover. All of the scenery was covered in snow, and I said, no. In the Fraser Valley, in November, you're not going to find all these heaps of snow. So he had to redo it pretty much totally. And then we tweaked the script a little bit. There's still a few things that I'd like to tweak, but it's going to be just fine the way it is. I love it.
Awesome. Really nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank you,
birthday.
David.
Happy Brooke birthday. Congratulations, Ardelle.
Vicky, unmute yourself, Vicky.
I'm busy having lunch while I'm doing this.
I know. I've been watching you, wondering what you're eating. Marky, why don't you unmute yourself or turn your video on? Char?
Oh, I'm on a desktop computer, so.
Oh, you don't have it. Oh.
But I just want to say I loved your creative process. It's like imaginative. You're dreaming up the characters and stuff. And whenever I've dreamt up like space things and stories of what it might be like out there in the universe, I've always imagined the people and then tried to think up what sort of story that would create. And I don't know. I love the way that you describe doing that.
Yeah, it's my process. It's the only one I know. Outline has never worked because my characters don't cooperate.
Oh, and happy birthday.
Thank you, Marky.
So is nobody going to sing it?
No.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Eleanor Book. Happy birthday to you.
And many more books to come.
Thank you. This is the way we clap in when we're on mute. So what's happening down at the Lactabani Library?
We're finally open again.
Yeah?
Started, on the 16th. It's been a long haul.
Yeah.
Patrons we did a lot of curbside service.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so they were happy with that, but boy, when the doors opened, they were in here,
Yeah.
smiles on their faces. following arrows and distancing and la la la.
We need our libraries.
Yeah,
The guardians of the literature.
That's right.
exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the online stuff works for some people, but for a lot of people it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my people couldn't come today because they either don't know how to download Zoom or don't know how to get into Zoom, and so that was kind of too bad. But they've all been on Facebook, you know, en masse, so I get to see them there. But I'm sure they'll they'll see the recording of this. So hi everybody. All my amigos del norte. Oh, gee. Well, I guess it's goodbye.
Thanks so much for letting me be part of it. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
everyone.
Everybody stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye, Vicky.
Bye.
Bye, AJ.
Thank you, Ardelle. Congratulations.
See you
Thank
tonight.
you, AJ.